My name is Chris Davidson. We have Ryan Husk. He's also with StartOut and Growth Lab. We're here to part of the AMA, Ask Me, Us Anything about Growth Lab. Quick introductions. I am the EIR for the Growth Lab. Chris Davidson here. I've been involved for the last 4 to 5 cohorts. 20-year investor, ran a venture capital fund. I now sit on boards working with amazing, fun startup companies, and I get to participate with the likes of these amazing people on the call today. That's a little bit about me. My co-EIR is Ryan Husk. Ryan, introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name's Ryan. I am the co-entrepreneur in residence with Chris. I am actually an alumni of Growth Lab, the second cohort. So a long time ago, back when people used to meet in person, I'm a multiple founder. I'm a consultant in strategic partnerships and product development. And I have the pleasure to work with some of the amazing companies from the last 2 cohorts of Growth Lab, and it's been an incredible experience, and I'm really excited to get to meet some of you guys. I see we have people from Yorktown, from Thousand Oaks. We've got people from across the pond. I see someone in New York City, LA, Austin. I hope, Austin people, I hope you have clean water and power. Hope you're recovering. It's a rough couple weeks. So thank you guys so much for being part of this.
Thanks, Ryan. So I think you all know a little bit about StartOut, but I'll just do a quick introduction. StartOut's an amazing organization. I've been a board member, advisory board member for 7 or 8 years. It's changed my life structurally. StartOut's mission is to increase the number, the diversity, and the impact of LGBTQ plus entrepreneurs, and thus drive economic empowerment for them and our greater community. We have 17,000 members, not only nationwide now, but in over 52 countries. We have over 300 volunteers. Those are mentors, advisors, people giving their time, energy, effort, blood, sweat, and tears, I like to say. And on top of that, we now have 170 different investors that participate in some form or fashion, whether they look at our companies, whether they read our distribution lists. We've done an amazing job of creating this wonderful ecosystem to support founders like yourselves. On top of that, we would not be here at StartOut without DLA's wonderful help. We are sponsored by DLA Piper. DLA is a top 10 global law firm, and we could not be doing this without them. So that is StartOut, that is DLA. Quickly, before I introduce Ryan, and he's going to walk through a little bit more, not introduce, but allow Ryan to go through the actual curriculum of the Growth Lab, I'm just going to tell you what it is. So the Growth Lab, I like to say, is the LGBTQ plus center for queer entrepreneurs. We don't have a country club, we don't have a golf course, we don't have some of the other kind of places that people can go to be supported by like-minded individuals. And that is what the Growth Lab really tries to do. I see Robyn nodding. We are support for one another. We are there. I mean, we have cried, we've laughed, we've had major successes. But the most important thing is that we are just a community, and we are here to meet other people. So that is what the Growth Lab really is, in my opinion. With that said, it's a 6-month accelerator program. And Ryan will get into the specific details of that. But I just wanted to give you what I think the sense and the flavor of the actual Growth Lab is. So over to you, Ryan.
Thank you, Chris. So a little bit about Growth Lab is it actually originated as an incubator program. So we helped very early stage companies, but as we've grown, we've found that the biggest value that we can provide to companies are helping take them to the next level. So we've shifted to become more of an accelerator program. And what that means is there's a few key aspects of the business that we're looking for. So some of them, so I'll kind of list them out. We look for people to have some of these, not necessarily all of them, but it's most important that we find people who have a product that's in the market. We want something that we can help. We want to be able to help your product grow, to give you advice on business strategy. Ideally, we'd love to see some sort of revenue. You don't have to be cash flow positive, but we definitely want to see that you're able to make a little bit of money. If you've had a capital raise, that definitely works in your favor. Being able to have customers and users who are using your product, who are validating that whatever you've built is useful to them. If you have, even just a handful of test users, that's something that we find really, really strong and amazing. A big part of this is, proving that you have a business model that works. Chris is definitely our business strategy guy. He will, help people hone their business model, improve it, make it more scalable. What we want to avoid is we don't want to be the people that are defining your business for you. We want you to know your business, we want you to know your product, and we want to help take it to the next level. And in a lot of cases, that means, that you're in a position to raise venture capital and that you're a scalable business. So that's sort of like, we look for those things, not all those things, but certainly some of those things when we review the applicants.
And I'll just jump in there and add, Ryan, great job. Other things we love to see, solo founders. We actually have two solo founders. Well, one, Robyn, on the phone call. We like to see a developed team versus one individual. And I hope this, and we can get into why, and I'll do it briefly. It's just, again, the more that you can have flushed out, I like to say, like, if you're thinking of building a building, you need to have kind of the architectural documents, the sense of, do you want to build a 2-story building, a house, or a 20-story? You have to do some of that work. And then these amazing advisors and mentors can really help you with it. And so one of those things is having more of a developed team, not necessarily. If you're a single founder, we still bring them in, but we like to see definitely a well-rounded team. That was the one interjection I wanted to add, Ryan. Thanks.
Oh yeah, thank you. So a little bit about the structure. We had a lot of questions about the structure of Growth Lab and what you can expect from day to day or week to week. And we do 2 things every week. We have a lunch and learn every week. This lunch and learn really the programming is catered to the businesses who we bring into the cohort. So once we know who we're going to accept into the program, we kind of talk to you guys, get a feel for what's most beneficial, the areas where you think you might need some support. In the past, those have included, understanding how to get your, product market fit. Other times it's been around marketing, fundraising, legal. We have a great relationship with DLA Piper. They've done 2 or 3 lunch and learns for each cohort. Sometimes that's related to, sometimes they need, our founders need help with the tech stack, growth marketing, SEO have been topics. I do a lunch and learn on strategic partnerships, and we've had people who come in with help and support for HR, growing their team, and how that works. So all of those are topics that we could cover. Sometimes we have to go and find new topics based on the needs of our cohorts, especially when the world changes and you have to do everything remotely. I think we probably could have done a lunch and learn just on Zoom, and we might have all benefited from that. So that's the first thing that happens every week. And that's somewhere between that lunch and learn is a presentation by people who are supporters of StartOut. They're in this to help you guys. They don't get compensated. They're volunteers. They love to come back to see each cohort. Sometimes they're investors, sometimes they're professionals, sometimes they're volunteers. We get a whole lot of different people in the program who support these lunch and learns. The second piece that we do alternating every week is 1 week we will have group office hours where everyone in the cohort comes. They kind of share an update. They can get advice. It's sort of the founder's circle. What's said in these meetings is, we keep it between us. We make sure that we provide support for the people within the program, whether that's on a business side or a personal side, because they kind of get muddled when you're a founder. The other week, when we aren't doing group office hours, we're doing individual office hours, which means you can book time with Chris or myself. And we walk through the needs of you or your business. And Chris tends to focus on big issues, finance, numbers, business strategy. And then I focus generally on product, partnerships, strategy, and And I like to do a little bit of emotional support every now and then too. So, um,
Yeah, Ryan's amazing on that. As it relates to the calendar, we've had a few questions on how much time it takes up, and you're going to hear from the panelists themselves, entrepreneurs. They can give you real world experiences of like how they saw it, what they liked from it. But we really try and make it the most impactful. So we try and have it be every Wednesday from 9-ish to about 1:30. Individual office hours where we're not in group will be a little less. That's that every other week that Ryan talked about. But we kind of don't want to take that much of your time. You all are very busy individuals. We know that already. So we want to make sure that you get back to kind of running your businesses. And then we can book additional time one-offs as needed. We also get you connected to mentors, et cetera. But that was a really specific question that maybe 4 or 5 individuals asked, like, time commitments, calendar. So it's Wednesdays, it's 9 to about 1, and we get you back onto your schedules of running your companies.
Great.
And I'd say it's time very well spent. As a founder who has very little time, that is what I would say. We'll get to that more later.
Actually, we're kind of going into that now. So what I want to do is I would like to take this chance to introduce 3 of our panelists, each of which are, 2 of which are alumni and 1 of which is actually currently in cohort number 7. So just so you guys know, I'm seeing some questions come through the chat. As soon as we get these intros done, we're going to be pulling questions that have been submitted prior to this and taking live questions. So I just want to make sure that you guys know we're watching it. Christina, Puck, I see your questions there. We're going to get to you. Hang on for just a minute. What I'd love to do is I'm going to go in cohort order, starting with Sid, who was from cohort 1. Do you want to tell us a little bit tell us who you are, your business, what you do? And I already said what cohort you're a part of, so I ruined it for you. I'm sorry.
Oh, well,
Jump to the gun.
Ruins everything. Not really. Well, hello everyone. Glad to be here talking about the amazing StartOut program. So I'm from cohort 1, as Ryan said, and we are Zeguro. So Zeguro is all about cybersecurity and cyber insurance for small and medium-sized companies. And as a small startup already know, it's not easy to bring in a security professional and manage all of your cybersecurity. So we are the company that makes it easy. So we were in cohort 1, I believe that was 3-4 years ago, and it was an amazing experience. I think StartOut is all about that community, which brings startups together and people together and helps tremendously. We are based in San Francisco, and so it was easy to be part of this program for us.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Leigh, let's jump over to you. Go ahead and give a name, business, what you do, and what cohort you're a part of.
Awesome. My name is Leigh Honeywell. My pronouns are she, her. My company, Tall Poppy, helps other companies protect their staff from online harassment. We work with a number of big platform companies, as well as everyone ranging from employment lawyers to small firms and nonprofits. Anyone whose employees or affiliated folks are dealing with this issue that really dramatically affects LGBT folks more than the average bear. So fundamentally, it's a cybersecurity product built around protecting employees. I was Tall Poppy was in Growth Lab cohort 4 in the spring of 2019. And it was just a transformative experience for us. We got plugged into this incredible network. We worked out of an incredible office space. Remember when people had offices? It's the whole thing. And got to get connected with this fantastic community. Since then, we've gone on to hire a couple more people, raise some additional funds. And yeah, it's been an exciting and kind of crazy couple of years. So yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks, Leigh. That's awesome.
Thank you. And then Robyn, I'm very excited to have you on because you were a part of the first fully remote cohort. So our cohort number 6 actually started in person and then very quickly moved to remote. But with your group, you've been remote from the beginning. So can you tell us a little about you, your business,
That's
what you
true.
do?
So in other words, Ryan has no idea if I'm a real person or simply an AI inside a computer, and I use that to my advantage. So
You're actually a deep fake. I knew it. I knew it. I'm kidding. I met you in person.
So, my name is Robyn Allen. Pronouns are she, her, and I'm CEO of Central Inventions. We are Peloton for technical training, personalized and motivational learning. We help engineering companies upskill engineers at scale. So gaining software engineering skills and other technical skills. I'm also a multi-company entrepreneur. In the past, I've worked with electric utilities, working on a consumer demand response product, selling into electric utilities, and I've also worked in hybrid automotive. I am an aerospace engineer by training, but a software engineer by practice now. And indeed, I'm in cohort 7, so I'm happy to field questions about what it's like to do this over Zoom. I will say that it is still very, very worth it. And in particular, I think we've all been adjusting to Zoom, but I think actually, if anything, this is a time where, as an introvert, I actually need excuses in order to meet. I need structure in order to meet other entrepreneurs, in order to meet mentors, in order to expand my network, especially on the prospective investor side. So I'd say that's something that this just gives a lot of structure for that at a time when I have not gone to any conferences in the last year, and that used to be my main way of meeting folks. So I'll leave it there, other than to say just feel free to bring those questions as well, because I think we're all still getting used to this Zoom stuff.
Thanks, Ryan. Sorry, thanks, Robyn. I'm just going to jump here for 2 seconds. We're going to have the panelists now go through and talk about their individual experience, what they really liked, what they gained. And also, so I'm seeing in the chat, like there's some technical questions that Ryan and I can answer, like, timeframes, acceptance, curriculum. We would love for you also to ask individual questions to the panelists, like their experience, how was it as, for them. So please also feel free to ask, because not only is it to talk to Ryan and I just more about the fundamentals, but like of the program, the structure, but like to the actual entrepreneurs on the panel. So feel free to definitely start loading some questions in there on that. 2 comments about questions that we talked about earlier. I see I apologize, we were a West Coast. The 9 to 1 is Pacific Standard Time. We do now have, this is the first cohort where we have a group from Chicago, a group from Atlanta. We actually have one from over on the pond. So there was another question in the list. Yes, we are looking worldwide. We clearly try and work with people on timeframes and parameters, but that's the typical kind of Pacific Standard Time that we're going to be referencing. So with that said, I think I covered some of the most current questions. And then we'll get back. So let's have Sid, then Leigh, then Robyn all share their personal individual experiences, what they liked, what they didn't like. Hopefully it was all amazing and we got, an amazing NPS score. So thank you, hint, hint. But feel free to share your experiences and what you found most valuable from the program. Thanks.
Definitely a really high NPS score from my side. No question about that. As we mentioned, we were part of the first cohort. So StartOut was still trying to figure out what it should be like, what the program should be like. It was a great group of startups. We were the ones who got to pick the best office with the best views. So that was great. But really, we were a really small team at the time. I think we were about three or four people, and we were pre-investment. But once we got into the StartOut program, our first few investors were part of the whole StartOut ecosystem. They were our angel investors, but not just investors. They also started as advisors, and eventually ended up becoming employees. So it was this really good way of connecting with people that you wouldn't really have access to without this great network. And to add to that, over the past 3 or 4 years now, it's the community that keeps giving. it doesn't stop. For example, 2 days ago, one of the StartOut team members made an introduction to an investor. Had a call with that investor, and we are talking about our next round already. So it never stops. And to add to that, everyone on the team, Chris, Ryan, everyone is quite knowledgeable to help you with any of the strategic side of things. So for us, it was that which was really important because we were a bit too early for anything. I think we were pre-revenue. StartOut did not have the criteria that they have today when we started, right? So we were pre-revenue, small team, but quickly grew to where we are today. We are about 12 people now. And I do attribute a big part of that to StartOut. The only things that I would say did not work was just that, everyone was learning together. So it was the first batch, everyone was learning together. And I believe that those learnings have now resulted in some great startups and programs.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sid. Robyn, Leigh, do either of you prefer to kind of go next? I mean, this kind of falls into one of the questions that we had submitted prior to this, which was, what is something valuable that you took away from your experience with the cohort? So we're kind of answering that question here. But Robyn or Leigh, feel free to jump in.
Yeah, so for us, the big thing, we had done YC in the summer of 2018, and there was definitely the feeling of like, we were one of 150 companies. Very, very different experience being one of 150. I think the current batch is 350, so that's like just a whole different number to contend with. Whereas our cohort with StartOut was 5 companies. And so we really got to be sort of in the groove, the weekly groove of doing the lunches and doing the events and that kind of thing, where we're getting to see how our cohort was advancing as a group and learn from each other. And we had, teams that were sort of varying different degrees. There were some folks that had been around for a couple of years working together. There were some folks that were really just, I helped one of the companies in our cohort do their incorporation paperwork. It was that degree of like different levels of experience. And I think at the same time, like having that group of people that you move forward together was really, really powerful, having that set of peers. And it's really important to have like, in my both like work and entrepreneurial experience, having not just the folks that are like your sort of mentors and sponsors, but also that community of peer mentors where you can learn together was so essential. And having that be folks who were in one way or another all different themselves, members of the LGBTQ community, being like, not only when I was in YC, like I definitely don't want to like talk smack about YC, but not that many women. My former co-founder, I think, was the first out non-binary person to go through YC. Really just like that experience versus like literally everyone in the StartOut community is LGBTQ in some way themselves was a really powerful experience of belonging. Is the long-winded answer there, sorry. That sense of belonging is really important. That's what I was trying to get at.
Thanks, Leigh. That's awesome.
Great.
Robyn, over to you.
In here. Am I still on mute? I was trying not to be. As a deep fake, I don't have the same. I have to learn by doing, and then my algorithms compute. I'm really glad to be here again. So I'm going to start with I'm going to start with the positives because that is such a long list for me. So the number one positive of this for me as a founder is to have a peer group of founders, CEO/founder group that I can get to know and develop trust with. I have been in other CEO groups in my past, and these, I'm sure lots of folks on this call have been in founder groups. These range from like a meetup group that is just informally organized to accelerators and programs like this where you have to apply. I would say this is, because it's so vetted and it's such a small group, there is a real chance to get to know people. So we have 6 people in our cohort, and that's, as Leigh said, that's different than 350. And I think what that means as a day-to-day impact for me is it helps me have gut checks when I need to check on something, either a decision or even just a check on how am I doing with my company. If I feel I feel small today, well, there's a bunch of other people on the call who are like, oh, we felt small in the past too. We don't see you as small. Let's just keep going. And then I'm like, oh yes, we can do this. So a lot of kind of moral support there. And then from a business standpoint, I think it has also helped me raise the level on deal size and raise my sights on who I can approach at a company. We can get into brass tacks of how the network works, but there's a very extensive network of people that are connected to StartOut in some way who you have access to and can get intros to. There's a mentorship program. I'm just going to go really fast here, so slow me down or ask me questions about this later. And I think the mentorship program is also a standalone program that perhaps you could get access to by applying to it separately from Growth Lab. I'm not 100% sure, but there's a thing where StartOut will pair you with a mentor. And my mentor happens to be at a huge tech firm that we were looking to sell into to begin with. So we've gotten a lot of insight from that person on just how that company works. There's also a Slack channel of all the alums, all the current people and all the alums that you can, I think there's just an assumption that people want to help each other in that Slack channel. So I've definitely put in a few questions there when I'm navigating small things that, the internet is not just sending me a resounding answer, and I want to hear from a real human. Then I have 2 negative things to say, and then 1 thing that, depending on your personality, will either be a positive or a negative. Can I say a couple more things, or am I taking too much time here?
Go.
Okay, I'm running. So the first thing I'll say is that because it's a 6-month program and because now we're on Zoom, I would say it is hard to build trust. Just like in real life, you have to kind of get to know people over time and see them in informal settings. So specifically, it's easier to build trust for me personally when there are informal opportunities to talk. And those, I'm saying this as a negative because you're going to have to create that for yourself in this program. Everything is right now in a schedule with Zoom. So what we've done, even though I'm giving you the negatives, I'm giving you our current solution set. We've looked to create some alternate times that are totally optional. And I think we even had one where it was just everyone hanging out playing video games and not talking. I'm not super into video games, so I was only there for a little while. But then we've had I organize a recurring one where we're just co-working. We're all on mute. We say hi at the top of the hour, and then we just work. And if someone has something really hilarious to say, they interject and make everyone laugh. So I'm stating that as a negative because it's something where you're going to have to bring more initiative than you might have to bring if you're in an office. My other negative thing is no free food. There's just no free food over Zoom, which major downside. And then my final remark is, and this could be a positive or negative depending who you are. So think about it. I think not every company in these cohorts is in the same life phase. So that means if you're coming to get some super specific thing and you want that to be 100% of the time, it's unlikely that will happen because people have different needs. For me personally, I think this is a strength of the program because I like hearing perspectives that stretch my own perspective. I like seeing if someone else is, doing in the middle of a raise for an amount of money that I've never raised before, or in the middle of a product launch with a bunch of really interesting moving parts that I personally have never considered. But I'd put that out there as in the middle ground. Yeah, I think that's my summary.
Awesome. Thanks, Robyn. I'm going to run through, we've got a few questions that are coming in from the chat that I just want to run through really quick. 2 of them, I think Chris and I are in the best place to answer. And then I have a great question that I want to pose to our alumni. So one question we got from Maddie is, did investors in the StartOut community make investments into your company after the program? If so, can you talk about any of the relevant details? The people who are investors or supporters or sponsors of StartOut, they are sometimes in the StartOut investor portal. This program, though, is separate from that. So while you may meet people who are supporters of StartOut or who have made investments before, this program and Growth Lab is not about introducing you to those investors for fundraising. It's about focusing on your business, scale, generating revenue, You know, we aren't going into this like you might see with other incubators where we're saying like at the end of this program you raise money. I will say many of the companies who have gone through this program have raised money afterwards, but that's not sort of a promise that we make, because it is more about, you know, improving your metrics, growing your business, improving your product and stuff like that. I had another question. Sorry, I'm just scrolling through.
If that, I will jump in. Office space.
Yeah.
Everybody knows right now this is 100% virtual for the foreseeable future. That allows us to get a broader swath of companies. So again, we had a company from Chicago, we had a company from Atlanta, currently we have a company from, you know, London. Cohort number 8, which is upcoming, which we all want you to apply for. We'll talk about the dates and the acceptance and everything along those lines in a moment. But that is 100% virtual. So we are not doing office space at the moment. You know, depending upon how things change with regards to the pandemic, that may change, but for the moment, this is definitely virtual. We have discussed, in the previous cohort number 6, there were a lot more companies. It was the one that Ryan talked about that started in person that moved to virtual. People did get together. There were, socially distanced, appropriate. These were not StartOut, sponsored events or situations like that. So, so with regards to office space, we do not provide office space, but if there are people in certain cities that can connect together, it's kind of up to those individuals to, their comfort level. So that was a question that I saw. Back to you, Ryan.
Awesome. I have a great question from Adam, and the question to our alumni is, what do you wish you would have done differently if you were to start Growth Lab again? So I'll just let you guys have at it, fight over the question. If anyone has anything to share.
Yeah, I think for us, I can start. For us, we would have put in more thought and structure into going into the program. We went in hoping and expecting that we would immediately get into this outstanding community of startups and investors and experts, but we did not put in as much effort beforehand to prepare for that. So I think that's the one thing that we would have done better, is just more preparation to make use of all of the resources that the program provides. You can't just go in and expect things to just fall in place.
It's funny because I feel like I got a ton out of the program, but I also know that there were opportunities that I missed within the program. The biggest one is I wish I'd taken more advantage of the mentoring. I worked really closely with Chris, and that was fantastic. But there was also I was introduced to a PM mentor, and I just didn't have the cycles to follow up with that. And I talked to other folks who had really, really good experiences with their mentors. So that was a miss on my part. I think I feel like I did do a good job of really getting involved with the community, going to events. Obviously, this is before times, but there are still a bunch of virtual events that StartOut puts on, like this one, and really being engaged with that community really, really enriched my StartOut experience.
I'll just jump in quickly, even though I'm not an alumni yet. I would have liked to have started these informal meetings sooner in the program. I think that I really believe that burden / opportunity falls on the shoulders of the members of the cohort. I don't think the staff or the volunteers should have to organize that, because that's the whole point. It should be what we need organically. So I wish I'd started those sooner so that people could kind of talk informally sooner and get to know each other a little better at the beginning. I think that's my only change so far.
And if I can add quickly,
Yes.
even though we were not fully prepared, it still was outstanding. Right? Our legal firm is through an introduction from StartOut. One of our mentors, and who was our acting CMO, was a mentor through StartOut. As I mentioned, some of our investors are through StartOut. So, it's great if you're prepared, but even if you are not fully prepared going into the program, it will still be quite beneficial.
Awesome. Thank you, Sid. Let's see if we've got, I'm going to pull from the questions that we had submitted prior to pulling this up. So I'm actually going to pose this to Sid because you kind of touched on it a little bit earlier. So what are some examples of outcomes that prior cohorts of StartOut companies have achieved following completion of the program? Zaguro has, it's been, the longest period of time. So you guys have had quite the change, but can you just tell us a little bit about, like, you mentioned that you were a very small team when you started, have you gotten, I know some of these answers, but have you gotten fundraising? Have you grown your team? Has your business grown? Share a little bit about that journey.
Yeah, so as I was mentioning, when we started with StartOut, we were pre-revenue. We were working on a product prototype, had some potential commitments from potential partners and customers. That's where we were, with 3 to 4 people. But since then, over the last 3 years, the team size goes up and down. COVID made an impact on that. So we are currently a team of 12. We raised about $8 million in funding over the last 3 years. And we are at about $1 million in revenues or ARR right now. And we are going for our next round for our Series A as we speak. Now, so yeah, that's where we are grown quite a bit, and we are in the insurance space. So insurance is, as you can imagine, it's all about old white men running the industry, and you would hardly ever even see any LGBTQ folks in there. But for us, us being part of StartOut helped us really tell the world that it's fine to be gay in this industry as well. We owned up to that. Right now, one of our board members is gay. We are 25% LGBTQ. 3 of our leadership team members are gay and lesbian. So and I say this because it's part of our growth as well, as us really acknowledging that diversity is key to who we are.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much. That actually leads into another question that we have.
Interject on that about outcomes. So we have a nice stat that we really like to talk about. And I think it really demonstrates how hard the entrepreneurs work and how successful they have been. Upon exiting Growth Lab, the 7 previous cohorts have raised over $110 million and created over 213 jobs. So, Sid is a fantastic contribution to that. But there are great outcomes. I mean, Leigh has raised over $1 million. She, we have another company has raised over $30 million. We have amazing outcomes. You come in, you show up, you do the work, you use the network, and really impressive things can happen. So I love that Sid gave his example. I just wanted to give the overall stat, and I think it's pretty powerful. So one other question that is a recurring theme is a little bit about like product or services. And so like percentages, and I would say we're most of the companies are some version of a SaaS type product. We have had a hard tech product. We have had definitely products in the past. As it relates to you all applying, apply. It's not that we would reject or accept based off of it. It's more about the actual quality of your company, your idea, what you're thinking about, your traction, and we're a little bit agnostic. So I hope this also helps. Like one of the current program cohorts and cohort 7 is called Cauldron Company, and they are a experiential, event space. So they do food and beverage, they do magic wands, they're an experiential food and beverage / technology education / online retail. And it's, I hope this gives the breadth of what we're talking about. So it's, it's Silicon Valley-ish. So we've seen a lot of questions about like venture backed. Yes, we do want to see you being venture backed, capable. That's kind of the world we live in. But I think we're a little bit agnostic. And I think as it relates, agnostic as specific product versus, a software, I would say like if you're a consulting business, it's really difficult to scale a consulting business. And so one of the things that we look for in the companies that we bring in is scalability. Because if you're a consulting business, you have X amount of hours. So, the question wasn't like it was services versus, but like the one caveat is we haven't really brought in a lot of consulting businesses just because it's not venture backed and it's very difficult to scale. It's hourly. And so I hope that gives, I want to, address some of the questions, or we want to address some of the specific questions. I hope that gives a flavor of, it's less about your product. Like, is it we're not here to say it's the right product or is this, we're here to say, hey, listen, you have great traction. We think we can connect you to the right team, the right, people within the ecosystem. So that's hopefully answers maybe 3 or 4 questions that were posed prior about specific product versus solution versus software.
Definitely. Let's jump in. I've got another question that I like that I think is probably just a good question just for entrepreneurs in general, not necessarily specific to Growth Lab, but Robyn or Leigh, if you want to jump in on this, how long have you spent from ideation to landing your first customer, and what was your biggest challenge? I like this question because this is kind of the thing that we end up talking about in our group office hours, where we talk about like iteration, we celebrate first customers, we celebrate first paying customers, first big contracts. This is a lot of the conversation that happens within the group. So if whoever would like to jump in first, I wish we had a buzzer.
I'll go on that. I've started a few companies now. So I think that the real thing I'd add to this question is, and how soon did you start speaking to customers? And in my case, just I've had mentors who say, talk to customers from day one. So I really have taken that to heart. In terms of getting a product in the hands of customers, generally I've done that within 1 to 3 months for free as a mock-up, like to just get them to give me some feedback. And then in my case, it's software, so it's a lot faster to make than hardware. So within 6 to 12 months, an MVP. But I don't think these are hard and fast. Like I think in this company, we did an MVP in 4 months after we had done manually a lot of the work we were gonna try to automate in the MVP. But again, I'd say the thing that matters to me more than how long that time is how much did I speak to customers early on in a way that created value for the company, like helped me start seeing some patterns, and helped me start understanding who the segments are that are reasonable. And I still practice this. Like I'm not perfect at it, but I always have to get reminded. Chris knows this. Like I always have to kind of, return to the strength of what the process is like, and then what does my gut say? But I'd say immediately speak to customers and then get various prototypes to them.
Leigh, I saw you jumping in. Feel free to.
Yeah, I was just going to say really quickly for us, we knew that what we were going to be building was software, but even before we had any software, we were like, how can we solve this problem for our customers there's a couple cliches of like, do things that don't scale and like the lean startup and all that stuff, but they're cliches because they work really well. And so for us, it was doing a live training, which we then iterated on and turned into our software platform over time, while getting paid to do those iterations by our customers. So we had customers within a month or 2 of incorporating, based on just there being like this urgent need for what we were doing.
Thanks, Leigh. I'm going to take a few questions here. Comment just to give you some dates. So applications are due on the 15th of April. So please, again, everybody, if you think this is applicable to you, I hope we're giving you enough kind of guidance on, is this the right program for you? If not, continue to send additional questions and we can do one-offs. So applications 15th of April, and then it's the next cohort 8 starts May 17th. So just want to make sure that I didn't forget to give you the kind of deadline dates and then the next program start. I see 2 questions I think are really interesting. I'm looking more at like themes to hopefully answer 3 or 4 questions. So I'm seeing a lot of themes about single founder, trying to find a co-founder, like trying to find that one equity hire for a CTO, some version of that. And that's a comment that I said earlier, like we really struggle with single founder, small teams, because like when you're thinking at that level, it's a little too early for where Ryan and I and the Growth Lab can really help accelerate your business. We're thinking like, hey, listen, we know that our product is doing this, as Robyn was saying, we're getting this kind of feedback. We have X amount of users. How can we accelerate it? So I'm not saying to not apply, but that single founder, if you're thinking about, my first hire, how do I, equity, that really isn't the space for the Growth Lab. I would say, I would highly recommend, we have an amazing mentorship program. And so this is for a little bit of the earlier stage companies that are yet not ready, that don't have enough customers, that maybe haven't raised some capital, that can help iterate the idea. So if you're at that idea iteration, or like really trying to, I say, kind of throwing some spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks as it relates to your customer, or as it relates to maybe your MVP, there are other ways to help you. And that way is, go into the mentorship program and try to mentor match. So Angelique and Sarah, like our amazing StartOut staff, have been matching mentors with entrepreneurs left and right. And I think Leigh and Robyn can both attest to the amazing mentor matching that we do. And there you can get that individual one-on-one, hey, I'm riffing on this, I'm thinking on this. You can get some more kind of business plan, or that first, movement towards where you want to go. And then reapply, in my opinion, for the Growth Lab after you have things that you come back, after you have those learnings of, this is what we learned, this is what we need to do, and now we need to hit the gas pedal. So I saw a bunch of questions in there, and I really want to make sure, I'm not sure if we get some thumbs up, thumbs down, if this is giving you a little more guidance, because at the end of the day, we're really here to answer your questions, hopefully of like, is this the right program for you? Can we get you the right support? One other feedback theme is like, Craig, I love you, Craig Lynn. What do we do well and what do we not do well? And so one of the things that's different than we don't give you money and we don't take equity in your business. So like YC and 500, those are traditional accelerator programs. They give you $100,000 and they take pieces of your business. We don't do that. One other thing that Ryan said is we can't guarantee that you raise capital upon exit. As you can see from the 110 million raised post, it happens, but we're not here to we can't say that you're going to leave here with 50, 100, 500. So I would say like what we don't do well, and maybe this is, but like if you're here to raise capital and the only one thing that you need for your business to move forward is raising capital, that's a blocker a little bit for us, because when you're in that pure capital raise mode, as you probably know, and Leigh and Sid, Robyn can attest, you can't grow your business. It's 100% like focus on the capital raise. And so where we really want to dig in with you is after you have some money and after you have that, we can help, like, and you say, I have 12 months of runway, I have 6 months of, 18, whatever it be, then we can really structurally plot out, all right, what are the next 6 months, 12 months, 18-month arc. And so I'm really hoping that's giving you a little more insight into kind of staging and phasing and maybe the why behind it. So if like your biggest concern is running out of capital in 4 months and that's all you're going to be doing, I would say go raise the money. That the program is not going to, like, that's not going to solve your problem. We want to actually help you grow your business. And I think helping you build a better business helps bring capital in. So I hope that elaborates on a little bit, like, you know, what we do well, what we don't like. We're not here to raise capital for you. We are here to help support you build an amazing business, and capital will come. I just hope that, like, I saw like maybe 6 or 7 different questions about that. I hope that clarifies a little. So I'm going to stop talking because I overtalk. Back to you, Ryan.
Chris, thank you so much. We're coming down to the last 5 or so minutes. What I want to do is, you know, there are a lot of questions that we weren't able to get to. You know, there's definitely more that are have been submitted. What I would be more than happy to do is, if you guys, I'll drop my Twitter in the chat. If you want to ask some of these questions, you can go ahead and tweet at me, and I'll answer as many of them as I can as they relate to StartOut. And we can kind of continue the conversation. But what I'd love to do is just give, you know, Robyn, Sid, Leigh, if you guys just want to, you know, leave a little drop of inspiration, or something that you think might be valuable as these people consider, as the people on here consider whether or not they want to apply. And Robyn, do you want to give it a start?
I'm going for it. I have 2 things. It is always exciting to be considering, or to have started, or to be working on a company, period. If you're thinking about this, but you're not quite ready for StartOut, like Chris said, go get the mentorship program and become ready later. If you're in the thick of it, doing a company, and this is just, that is an exciting thing. And if StartOut can help you, they really want to. That's just, they like bend the arc of time to help you. And so just apply. And I saw along Chris's points, there's a lot of super specific things of my product does this or my team does this. And again, I just zoom the lens out and say, you probably need multiple things, and the more clarity you have around those, and the more time you have to do that. Especially, I don't recommend being a solo founder. I'm looking for a co-founder myself. I'll find one, but that'll just give you more time to absorb the learnings.
Struggle is real.
Yeah, so do it and apply.
I say this about the YC application as well, but I think the StartOut application, just doing the application, is a valuable exercise in thinking about your business model and thinking about your startup. It forces you to hone your pitch. You will do that more in StartOut. It's, you know, I love Robyn's Peloton for education. It's like so good. It's so good. And you'll come up with that one-liner, but, you know, you'll come up with the like baby imperfect version of it, just writing the application. So even if you don't even hit send, you should hit send. But even if you don't, like, go through the process, think about what is the scalable version of your business? What is the huge market you're going after? I think that's a valuable exercise in and of itself.
Yep. And I'd say that everyone here on this call, or the whole community, everyone really wants to help you. There's no doubt about that. And if you don't try, you won't get that help. You won't get those insights. So the least you should do is apply and try it out.
And get on the mailing list and come to other events too, right? StartOut Growth Lab is not all of StartOut. There are many other things, and I think it's really a valuable community.
Also, the application deadline is April. Is that right? April something?
April 15th.
Guys,
mark
that
it.
is an eternity in startup time. If you don't have a co-founder, you can get one before then.
I'm going to say a few things, and then I'll let Ryan close it off, because he did such an amazing job facilitating all this tonight. Thank you, Ryan. 2 other themes that are popping up. If you have a co-founder, co-founders are both welcome to come. So we will take up to like 2 people per company. With that said, let's say there's a lunch and learn on SEO or tech stack. The individual person within your company that might not be a co-founder is clearly wanted to be and is allowed to join for that educational. So like whatever, like if it's a marketing, if it's capital raise, you have different people in different departments within your company, or different individuals focusing on those things. It is allowed. So like, but with regards to co-founders, yes, both you and your co-founder can participate in that. I saw 3 different questions on it. So we really want you to pair, lock, and step with that. And the last thing is, we've been reviewing applications for 6 or 7 years. We've seen literally interviewed companies and said, listen, you're 6 months away, please apply. I would say apply, get in. We'll tell you if you're too early, or if it's not the right fit, but also, if you don't get in, I want to tell you, we have taken people who didn't get in, and we watch you. We will stay in contact with you. We look for your growth. We will actually see what you've done from 6 months ago to now. We'll probably give you a few things to think about. And, so we've actually brought in people who didn't get in and got close, were finalists, and that got in the next cohort. So if you've applied already, or if you're saying, so I just want to talk about that. This is, we're here to support you on your arc. If you're not yet ready, we will still be there for you in 6 months or 12 months in a cohort or two. So that was my final 2 comments. Show up, amazing things happen. Thank you very much. And Ryan, over to you.
Yeah, just one other thing on that is I got in on my second application to Growth Lab. And I think that for nearly every single cohort, there is a company who applied at one stage and didn't get in, and then applied again and got in. So Chris is genuine when he says, we look at these founders and we want to see your growth, and we're excited when we get to see your growth. So definitely do not be afraid to apply again. Don't be afraid to ask for feedback if you don't get in. The way we look at these companies and the applications is, who are the companies that we can help grow the most in 6 months? How can we impact them the most? And that's one of the biggest factors we look into that, because if you're not in a place where, if you're only going to get from A to B in the 6 months, but if you wait until the next cohort and you've grown the business, you can get from B to H, I don't know. That's more important, right? You make more growth in a short period of time if you're primed and ready. So really, really appreciate all this. Robyn, Sid, Leigh, thank you guys so much for being part of this. It is always so nice to see everyone. I'm going to drop my Twitter in here because the questions keep on rolling in and I don't want to leave any questions unanswered. So I will make sure to get back to anyone who does. Thank you again to all of the applicants. Take Robyn's advice. Jump, do the thing, submit the application. It's worth it. So I appreciate everyone for being here. Chris, thank you so much. And we will be seeing you guys all shortly, I hope. So thanks again. Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.